The message and model of Islam: faith, society, and modern relevance. Read the Quran and study how the Prophet Muhammad and the initial Muslims abide by it. Islam's message is the same message delivered by all prophets from Adam to Muhammad, and it is centered on three foundational principles: the oneness of God, human equality, and personal accountability. These pillars serve not only as spiritual doctrines, but as the framework for a just and peaceful society. The message of Islam: Tawheed, oneness of God. All prophets, from Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, to Muhammad, called humanity to worship one God alone. Islam emphasizes monotheism not just as a belief, but as the unifying idea that informs all human responsibilities. Recognition of one God implies recognition of one human race with equal worth. Equality. God honored humanity as his most noble creation and designated them as his representatives on earth. This role entails mutual care, stewardship of the planet, and exploration of the universe to recognize and benefit from God's signs. All humans are created equal and must neither oppress nor be oppressed. Therefore, truth, honesty, and fairness in social dealings are essential. Accountability. Life is a test. Death marks the end of our ability to earn, learn, or act. On the day of accountability, every individual will answer to God based on their efforts, not outcomes. What matters is how we use our blessings and endure our hardships. Islam promises justice, especially against those who knowingly spread confusion and injustice. The face of Islam. From Mecca to Medina. Mecca, faith and freedom. During the Prophet's Meccan period, Islam focused on faith in the unseen and personal commitment to belief in God, the hereafter, angels, scriptures, and divine will. The early Muslims bore persecution for their ideology centered on this belief. The 5 pillars of Islam. 1. Shahada, testimony of faith. One God, La ilaha illallah. Equality, Muhammadar Rasul Allah. To establish equality and justice through prophethood with rules and regulations and therefore accountability. 2nd, Salah, prayer. A tool to strengthen the relationship with God for the mission. 3rd Psalm, fasting. A training to recognize others' suffering and to bear hardship. 4th, Zakah, charity, practice to sacrifice for others. 5th, Hajj, pilgrimage, recognize the equality and unity in humanity. Medina, law and society. After the migration to Medina, Islam transitioned from an ideological movement to a constitutional and societal model. The Medinan constitution formalized equality and governance, not just for Muslims, but for all citizens. For example, economics. Usury, renting money, was banned to prevent economic oppression. Rights and responsibilities between labor and capital were clearly defined. Politics. Citizens had equal rights and could hold leadership accountable, as exemplified when a woman publicly questioned Caliph Umar's personal conduct. Sociology. Equal rights and responsibilities were emphasized across genders and social classes. Access to welfare and clean water were considered basic rights for all. Religious rituals such as marriage, inheritance, and funerals were based on these values and outlined in both the Quran and Sunnah. The human being, body, soul, and psyche. Islam views the human being as composed of 3 interlinked components: physical body, Dependent on material needs like food and shelter, the body is temporary. Soul, ruh, the divine breath that begins life and departs at death. It is pure, genderless, ageless, and yearns for truth. Psyche, or conscious, nafs. Formed through life experiences, it includes personality, emotion, and moral compass. The harmony of these parts leads to a balanced life. The Quran acts as a manual to help align them, guiding humans to remain patient in hardship, humble in success, and courageous in purpose. Controversial topics, context and clarification. Some Islamic rulings are often misunderstood or misrepresented. Usury, riba. Renting money is prohibited to prevent economic enslavement. Interfaith relations. Muslim men are allowed to marry women from the people of the book. Friendship with non-Muslims is allowed. The prohibition applies to alliances that harm community interests. Remember, back then, families and friends were split in faith, complicating relationships between related Muslims and non-Muslims. Women's rights. Sharia always includes relief clauses and prioritizes justice. Veiling, polygamy, and gender roles were responses to historical context, not at blanket prescriptions. Remember, revelation didn't come all at once, rather as needed. Now, observe our social norms across the globe and analyze how fair and justified our cultural and legal practices are. Does domestic life change over time, or from one place to another, capital punishment? A solution matching societal norms in the absence of a judicial institution, applied only with strict preconditions and due process. Apostasy, historically tied to political treason, not mere change of belief. During the extreme persecution years of Mecca, Ammar bin Haris denounced his faith to save his life, obviously with no consequences. Halal diet. The Quran identifies which animals are permissible to eat. The Prophet Muhammad's practice highlights the importance of minimizing the animal's suffering and ensuring that the blood is fully drained, as both are essential components of halal slaughter. Historically, the people of the book used similar methods, so the Quran allowed Muslims to consume their meat. However, with industrialization and population growth, Western farms and slaughterhouses moved toward automation, often neglecting these key aspects. This shift created a divide between traditional halal practices and modern methods. In recent years, in addition to the modern hygiene and food safety regulations, many slaughterhouses have revised their procedures to align more closely with halal standards. This example is a perfect reflection of how Quranic interpretation evolved to uphold foundational values amid changing circumstances. Each law in Sharia is rooted in 5 core protections. System. We pledge allegiance to the Constitution, which must be protected at all costs. Life. Life must be protected at all costs. The only exception to risk it, imprison it, or take it is when the system is threatened, when the lives of citizens are endangered, or as a legal compensation for a crime. Property. Personal, public, or commercial assets, resources, and interests, including taxes, are protected at all costs. The only justified expense is to protect the system, human lives, and auditing to secure these against corruption. Intellect. This protects citizens from being tricked into buying or accepting a product or service. Laws against the manipulation and monopolization of public needs. Lineage and honor. These two can be tied together. All children have the right to know their parents and to their inheritance. Similarly, people are accountable for false accusations. Politics, jurisprudence, and society. Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, is based on principles that adapt to time and place. Islam is flexible enough to work with any system that upholds transparency, accountability, and justice, whether tribal, democratic, or monarchy. Below are the 5 principal guidelines. Intentions matter. An auto accident is not considered a crime unless someone is purposely run over. Certainty overcomes doubt. Innocent until proven guilty. Hardship requires ease. Shortening of the prayers during travel. Harm must be removed. Installing a traffic light to prevent accidents due to an increase in traffic. Local customs are valid. A faqih must understand the people's language and norms before suggesting a resolution. The internet and social media can be a good source of learning. However, in this case, they have made American Muslim lives difficult in the sense that people from other regions with different cultures and political backgrounds can influence our judgment, creating a domestic, social, and political conflict, especially confusing the youth in creating an identity crisis. Immigration, racism, and civil society. Immigration is not a new conflict. Just study the story of Joseph in Egypt and how his family became slaves, a pretense for Moses to rescue them as his prophetic mission. Immigration has shaped the modern world, especially in the US. Earlier waves of immigrants came for freedom. Later ones came for survival. Both shaped the land, and both were shaped by the land they arrived in. Today, technology and social media have created a unique dilemma for immigrants. Maintaining strong ties with their homeland often comes into conflict with the need to adapt to the local culture. Constant connectivity makes it harder to fully integrate as cultural values, traditions, and social norms from the home country continue to exert a strong influence on daily life. Immigrants must recognize both the benefits and pitfalls of their heritage. To adopt a new country without abandoning critical thinking requires preserving the good and rejecting the harmful. Similarly, locals must understand that diversity can strengthen national unity. The Quran teaches that our differences are a source of mutual learning and growth, not division. Quran 49:13. O mankind, we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. In conclusion, the message of Islam, belief in one God, human equality, and accountability remains timeless. Its model of governance, community, and self-development, when properly understood and applied, offers powerful solutions for modern challenges. Whether in law, politics, or daily life, Islam advocates for a just, ethical society grounded in divine values and human dignity.